Hi class, this is Mrs. LaRich, and I will be teaching you all about the different phases of the moon. The moon formation. Around 4.3 billion years ago, the Earth's moon formed. A small planet-sized object collided with the Earth. The Earth's gravitational pull caused the debris to form a ring around the Earth. Over time, the rocks combined to form the moon. Some facts about the moon. The diameter of the moon is 3,476 kilometers. The moon's average distance from Earth is 236,730 miles. The moon's mass is 7.35 times 10 to the 22nd, which is 1/81th of Earth's mass. Here are the main rotations of the moon. As you can see, we have new moon, first quarter, full moon, third quarter, and back to new moon. These are all rotating around the Earth. From new moon to full moon, we call this the waxing phase. And from full moon to new moon is called the waning phase. In between new moon and first quarter, you have the waxing crescent. In between first quarter and new moon, you have the waxing gibbous. In between full moon and third quarter, you have the waning gibbous. Lastly, in between third quarter and new moon, you have the waning crescent. This is just an image showing us the different phases of the moon. This is how the moon circles around the Earth. The shape of the moon appears to change. This is different because different amounts of illuminated light are facing the moon. The shape of the moon varies from a full moon, when the Earth is between the sun and the moon, to a new moon, when the moon is between the sun and the Earth. Throughout this lesson, you will be learning about the different types of moon phases. The first phase is the new moon. The new moon lies closest to the sun in the sky as seen from Earth. More precisely, it is the instant when the moon and the sun have the same elliptical longitude. Do we see this moon phase? The moon is not normally visible at this time except when it is seen in silhouette during a solar eclipse. At new moon, the moon is lined up between the Earth and the sun. The next phase is the waxing crescent moon. Only a small part, less than half, of the moon is lit up at this point. The part that is lit up is slowly getting bigger. As the moon moves eastward away from the sun in the sky, we see a bit more of the sunlight side of the moon each night. A few days after new moon, we see a thin crescent in the western evening sky. The crescent moon waxes or appears to grow fatter each night. The first quarter moon. When half of the moon's disk is illuminated, we call it the first quarter moon. This shows half of its lighted hemisphere, half of its day side, to Earth. We officially call this moon a quarter and not a half because it is 1/4 of the way around in its orbit of Earth, as measured from one new moon to the next. This moon appears half lit to us, and half moon is a beloved name, although not an official one. Next is the waxing gibbous moon. This moon appears high in the east at sunset. A waxing gibbous moon appears more than half lit, but less than full. The moon phase comes between 1 and 2 weeks after new moon. The moon has moved in its orbit so that it's now relatively far from the sun in our sky. A waxing gibbous moon rises during the hours between noon and sunset. It sets in the wee hours after midnight. Full moon. The entire moon is lit up at this point. The side of the moon that is lit up by the sun is facing the earth. You know when you see a full moon. But what makes it so full? At a full moon, the moon and the sun are on line with the earth in between. Waning gibbous. The moon is not quite lit up all the way by sunlight. The part of the moon that is lit is slowly getting smaller. Waning means to slowly get smaller. In a few days after the full moon, you often see a waning gibbous moon in the west in early morning, floating against the pale blue sky. A waning gibbous moon sails over the eastern horizon in the hours between sunset and midnight. What can I say about a waning gibbous moon? Only that it can surprise you if you happen to be out late in the evening. It rises eerily some hours after sunset, glowing red like a full moon when it's near the horizon. Sometimes it looks like a misshapen clone of a full moon. The third or last quarter moon is half illuminated. A last quarter moon looks half illuminated. It rises around midnight, appears at its highest in the sky at dawn, and sets around noon. Last quarter moon comes about 3 weeks after new moon. Now, as seen from above, the moon in its orbit around Earth is at right angles to a line between the Earth and the sun. The moon is now 3/4 of the way around in its orbit of Earth, as measured from one new moon to the next. The waning crescent moon. A small part of the moon is lit up at this point. It is getting smaller by the minute. The moon appears closer to the sunrise glade. Most people won't see this moon phase unless you get up early. Still, the waning crescent is up there, nearly all day long, moving ahead of the sun across the sky's dome. It sets in the west several hours or less before sunset. Final thoughts on rotation of the moon. The moon orbits Earth at an average of about 382,400 kilometers. The lunar month is 29.53 days it takes to go from one moon to the next. During the lunar month, the moon goes through all of its phases. Just like the Earth, half of the moon is lit by the sun, while the other half is in darkness. Just a fun fact. Did you know that a full moon can happen twice in 1 month? When this happens, the second full moon of the month is called a blue moon. I really hope you enjoyed this presentation on the phases of the moon and learned quite a bit. These are just some references that you can look at that I used to create the PowerPoint. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.